Hello.
Hey, Morris.
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going? This is Derek.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Good.
Good, good. Just wanted to give you a call back. I know I said Brandon was going to give you a call, but after we talked about it last night, we kind of figured I was a little bit more familiar with the nuances of it all. So figured I'd be the one to give you a call.
Okay.
Yeah, and we talked it over. Go on. I'm sorry.
Okay. Go ahead. What? Have you talked it over?
Yeah. We talked it over. We took a look at the pictures, took a look at the market, and we definitely would have ideally liked to be at around that 180 mark, but after taking a look at it and reviewing the pictures, the property does seem to be in great shape. It's very clearly well maintained. So, again, if we were able to come in with cash, kind of with the provisions that have been discussing with the tenant and what have you, and we could do the 200 cash, is that something that you're willing to move forward on?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we're comfortable with that. I was kind of spinning my wheels here, trying to remember everything that we were talking about. I was, looking to draft up the agreement here so that I can include all that language. I kind of wanted to just reiterate it back to you to make sure that I'm not missing anything, right? The main concern is the tenant, correct?
Yeah. I don't want to lose the tenant. I mean, he's a great tenant. I don't want to lose him. So,
Right.
you know, I don't. I don't have any interest in spooking him and go find another place, and then something falls through.
Definitely.
That's
Definitely.
the bottom line.
Yeah, so I think the workaround for that would be kind of what we were discussing yesterday is, the inspection period up front, and then, hold off on issuing the tenant any type of 30-day notice until after our inspection is told. That way, the earnest money goes hard and you pretty much have the green light that we're going to buy the place. So if that's something that you're on board with, what I've kind of laid out is setting the tentative closing date out like 50 days, which would give us enough time for a 14-day inspection and 30, some odd days for the tenant to vacate after they're served the notice. Does that kind of sound accurate there?
Yeah. Now, when you say the inspection period, what are you gonna? You're gonna have to have people come in and do a thorough inspection, or what? While the tenant is still.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be
Obviously.
a crazy like thorough inspection. One thing that got brought up last night was the exterior. We don't have any exterior pictures. So we
Oh.
would want to kind of check that out, get a little bit of a visual on the roof or the siding, possibly the electrical panel on the outside there, and possibly the AC unit. Just some of those things are the things that got brought up. I know you say they're everything's fairly new, and I'll take your word for it. But just to kind of again protect the investment, we'd like to get some eyes on that stuff. Um, what else came up? Some other things like the plumbing. We'd like to get somebody to go check in and just peek, poke their head underneath all of the sinks and stuff to make sure that the plumbing is up to par. So when I say inspection, I don't mean people going in there with clipboards and checking off every single square foot of the place. More so just somebody peeking their head in
Okay.
there to protect the investment.
Yeah. I'm in the middle of something. Can I call you back here in a little while?
Sure. When can I expect the call?
In an hour or two.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Bye now. All right. We here. Yo, let's go. Happy wholesaling. What's going on, guys? Man, I really wanted that conversation to unfold a little bit more than it did. He's on board though. I don't know if you guys were in here at the beginning of the conversation. He's on board. Went for like the soft commitment in the beginning, to let him know that if we were able to do that 200,000, it's something that you wanted to move forward on and get going. He said, yeah. Now, his guard is still up somewhat about the tenants. Yeah, I don't know if you heard that. That's the biggest thing. Um, that's the biggest thing. So I have, I've been I educated myself all last night on the standardized contract that's like brokers and agents use in Texas. It's called the TREC, is what people will refer to it as. It's the TREC, the Texas Real Estate Contract. I think is just what it's that that abbreviation is. Residential, maybe. Uh, Texas Real Estate Commission is the TREC, 1 to 4 units. So this is what's used for single families, and I've been educating myself on that all last night, trying to because I know that he'll probably want to see that. Um, so I kind of have it already filled out. I just am waiting on a few other things. I want to discuss earnest money with him. I know last time he was talking about requesting 1%, which would be $2,000. I'm going to see if he's willing to bend a little bit on that, since we are willing to bend on like so many other aspects of the agreement, like, you know, pushing out closing or, um, I guess covering the closing costs, just all these things, we're willing to bend in regards to the price. But so I'm hoping that he's willing to bend a little bit on that, even if it's just like cutting it in half. So where we can put up like 1,000 instead of two, that'd be ideal. Um, but yeah, these are some of the provisions that I kind of have pre templated here, and this is what I was literally just getting ready to go over with him. Um, but you can hear it, right? Like he's like, when you say inspection, what do you mean? Like, so I tried my best to like dumb it down. It's like it's not gonna be people in there walking through, checking every square foot with a clipboard, taking note of every little nick and ding in the place, but rather just some people, people in there poking their head in, making sure that plumbing's good, foundation's good, AC's good, electrical panel's good. Just kind of we got to protect the investment and make sure that the numbers are as accurate as we believe they are right now. Um, this is the kind of stuff that I have typed out so far in the special provisions in the section. So like I'm gonna go through just to refamiliarize myself with it. So the parties to the contract are and me, the buyer. So I have my LLC there. I need to put in signs. I think technically every Texas contract, regardless, is assignable in its nature, and you don't have to specifically indicate it. But just to be sure, and if he says anything about that, in all honesty, I have a response to that. Well, we like to we don't know our exact exit strategy on this, and we have a few different LLCs. One holds our rentals, one holds our flip projects, one holds our short-term rentals. So we just don't know exactly what the exit strategy is going to be on this one. So we want to leave it open to be able to put it into any LLC during the process. And then if he still is throwing a little fit about that, then I'll just remove it, because I think I'm going to double close on this one anyways if we do end up moving forward. Um, Property, lot, block, subdivision, city, county, full address. It says improvements, accessories, everything is essentially part of the property unless specifically indicated in this exclusions area. Cash portion of sale, 200,000. Sales price, 200,000. Leases, I'm not going to do anything with residential leases because we're coming to the agreement that the notice to vacate is going to be served before closing, so that it's going to be delivered vacant. Um, Delivery of earnest money and option fee within 3 days after the effective date. Buyer must deliver to. Um, so it's giving me 3 days, but then right below it says, no. Yeah, so 3 days to deliver the earnest money and then I've left it to be determined, TBD, because I don't know if I'm going to use my uh, title company in Houston or if I'm going to have to find another title company out in Austin, because I believe he is located in Austin, and I don't know where he's going to be. So I know my buyer for my last deal, I think he buys all over Texas. So I don't know. I want to bring it to him, but I don't want to bank on the fact that the buyer is going to be in Houston. So I may just find another title company out in Austin that does assignments and double closes and open escrow with them. So I left it open to be determined as escrow agent at to be determined their address. And then I left the earnest money blank because, like I said, I'm going to want to Go back and forth with them a little bit on that. No option fee. Um, no additional earnest money. Termination option for nominal consideration, the receipt of which seller acknowledges and buyer's agreement to pay the option fee within the time required. Seller grants buyer the unrestricted right to terminate this contract by giving notice of termination to seller within 14 days after the effective date of this contract, which is the option period, which is my inspection period. Failure to timely deliver earnest money. If buyer fails to deliver earnest money, yada yada, uh, the seller can cancel the contract. Um, Title policy: seller shall furnish to buyer at buyer's expense an owner policy of title insurance issued by to be determined, which is the title company. Yada yada yada. The standard printed exception as to discrepancies, conflicts, shortages in area boundary lines, encroachments, or protrusions or overlapping improvements will not be amended or deleted from the title policy. Title commitment, all standard. Survey, I'm not going to worry about it. I do want the option to get one if it's required, so I have that in the special provisions at the end. Um, but it's nothing that's like required or necessary. At least I don't think so at this point. It was required on my last deal. Objections: buyer may object in writing to defects. I'm not going to put anything there. Buyer must object the earlier of the closing date or blank. Title notices: this is all. The property is subject to mandatory membership in a property owner association. I was able to identify that it is a part of a homeowners association, or rather a planned unit development. So I do believe they pay some type of an HOA fee. So that's just to market that it is a part of an HOA. I have it pre-initialed and the address in all areas in the contract. Everything else is pretty standard language. Seller's disclosures: the seller is not required to furnish the notice under the Texas Property Code. I'm not going to require that they write up a seller disclosure notice to me and identify every single thing, because in the next section, I check that the buyer accepts the property as is. Everything else pretty standard language, and this is what I've gathered in watching some videos about this contract here, TREC, is that Texas includes a lot of language in the contract, but it's not, especially in a cash transaction, a lot of it doesn't really pertain to the situation at hand. So anything that's like not checked off, the checkbox isn't checked, or anything isn't specifically indicated in like the special provisions at the end, isn't relevant or pertinent to the transaction. So everything in here, it's like, environmental matters, completion of repairs, and like none of this really adheres to our situation specifically. So a lot of this stuff I'm leaving blank. A lot of this stuff I'm skipping over. Um, I'm hoping that doesn't raise too much of concern with him. The fact that I'm just gonna like breeze through it. If he does want to go over with me, I want to obviously go over it with him. But brokers and sales agents not applicable, so I'm leaving all that blank. Closing: I say the closing of the sale will be on or before I have February 28th, 2022, or within 7 days after objections made under yada yada. At closing, all language. Buyer's possession: seller shall deliver to buyer possession of the property in its present or required condition, ordinary wear and tear, accepted upon closing and funding. So that's just saying we're taking possession to the property at the time of closing and not like some future date. Um, so this is what I have under special provisions. So they have an area at the bottom of the contract called special provisions that allows you to just open-ended, free, what's the word I'm looking for? Free form, like type in whatever you want. So I have these special provisions. Buyer to pay all closing costs, not including any unpaid taxes, liens, or judgments. Buyer has the option to order a survey upon buyer's request. So there is that survey again. I'm not going to make it mandatory that anybody gets a survey, or that the seller has to order it, or that I have to order it as the buyer. But rather, if I do want to order one, that I have the right to do so. I don't want it to become a thing like last. That's what happened with my last deal, where it was like, um, my escrow officer at my title company was like, all right, we need a survey here. And that's what really delayed it. And my seller was like, oh, like, survey, like what? Like, and it just got pushed out and out because the survey wasn't being ordered. And then by the time it did get ordered, it was, like it was just a thing, right? And then the lender, the hard money lender, had to communicate and wait until the survey was received before they could fund the deal. And then so it just delayed it. So I don't want it to be a situation in the future where I go back to the seller and like, hey, it looks like we're gonna have to get a survey. So we're gonna order that. And they'd be like, oh no, man, you didn't say anything about a survey. Like, I don't want to have to wait for a survey. Well, right here in the contract it says that I have the right to order one. I don't know how frequently that would pop up, but I watched a video in which he had it's somebody out in Texas, out in Houston specifically, that I've been following, who had a YouTube video that walked through this contract in order to facilitate it as a wholesale transaction, and that's what he had in there, and it makes sense. And I had a similar situation with my last deal. If title work is not complete by closing date on line 9, closing shall happen within a 60-day period once title work is complete. So that kind of gives me that assurance that, if the reason that the closing is being delayed is because the title work isn't being completed, that we have an extra 2 months, 60 days to get that um, in order to close on the property. He might not, we may have to honestly remove that because he's tripping about sitting on a vacant property. Buyer has the free right to record a memorandum of contract to secure the integrity of this agreement. So that's that, hey, we're very serious about buying this property, so much so that we are likely going to go file this with the county to put it on public record, put everybody on notice that we have interest in the property and that we're planning on closing on it shortly. That could go one of two ways. One, that could like give him a little bit more assurance that we are serious about it. But two, it could be, it could raise a red flag. I don't know why it actually would raise a red flag. I don't know why it would, but um, maybe just because he doesn't want anything to be put on public notice. Again, he's very skeptical about the whole like raising concern with the tenant. Seller to issue tenant, which is weird because he's going to kick them out eventually. I just don't get that. If he wants to sell, I'm telling him that we're willing to buy it with how he wants it to be bought, but he still like has his guard up because he doesn't want his tenant to know that he's selling it until it's being sold. It's like, come on, man, you're gonna kick him out, but you're not gonna give him a heads up. That's how I'm thinking about this. It's like, if you think you're gonna sell, why haven't you been having that conversation with the tenant? You should be telling them, hey, just so it's not official, but I'm talking to somebody and I'm thinking about selling the property. So, I just don't, I want to give you guys more of a heads up than 30 days, right? I think that's what would be more appropriate for him. If he's so concerned about his tenants, I would think that he would be having this conversation with them already, saying exactly what I just said. Hey, it's not official, but I am talking to this guy. He's very serious about buying the property. So I just wanted to let you know, that when it does become official, I will likely be serving you a 30-day notice. It's not official at this point, but I did want to kind of give you guys a heads up so that maybe you can kind of, you know, put your ear to the pavement and figure out what your next steps may be if it does end up becoming official. That's what I would do if I was the landlord and I was concerned about the tenants. But it's like he's kind of playing both sides. Like he wants to keep it a secret from them, but he's considerate of them. And then when it does become official, he's going to kick them out in 30 days. Like this doesn't make much sense to me, but I guess I get it. Whatever. And then the last one, seller to issue tenant a 30-day notice to vacate, and the property shall be delivered vacant at the time of closing. So that's kind of what really outlines what I was just talking to him about. Hey, um, this is what I pretty much laid it out where I'm going to need an inspection period, 14 days, and then at that point, once my inspection period is done, my earnest money is going to go hard, meaning that it's going to become non-refundable. And at that point, it would only become non-refundable, and I would only allow the earnest money to go hard because I already have a buyer who I assigned the deal to, and they put up their non-refundable earnest money. So, I would be protected in that. That's the only way I would allow it to slip out of the inspection period and allow my earnest money to go hard is if I've already had a buyer put up their non-refundable earnest money. So I'm protected in that. That gives him assurance that he's gonna at least get something out of it if I end up playing games with him and he ends up messing around with his tenants. You know, I'm trying my very best to continue reiterating that I'm not trying to play games with him, but he really has his guard up. He just got burned. He just got burned by another investor, so I get it. So that's all that. Anything else is just kind of like standard language, prorations, casualty loss, mediation, attorney fees, escrow. There's nothing for me to even fill out here. It's just a bunch of language. Um, and that's it. At the bottom, I have my address, number, and email, and have his address, number. So I need to write this down. What I need from him. I need uh, his email. Oh, and what I need to confirm as well is um, uh, confirmation of the trust. So this property is actually in a trust that has a woman's name, Diana, on it. I imagine it's either his wife or his ex-wife or his late wife. I don't know. I've never heard any reference to the wife. So she's on the trust though, so we may have to jump through a couple of hoops in order to get that resolved. I'm not sure though. It's a revocable trust, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Um, confirmation of the trust information. Um, 200,000 cash. Um, earnest money deposit. See if he's willing to bend a little bit. Hmm. I don't need to really confirm the HOA. I see it. And I think that may be it. Oh, closing date confirmation. Make sure that works for him. It's just the last day of February 28th. Um, and then go over provisions. And that's it. Confirm. Mailing, address, and email, and then send sign. Well, we'll mark you in. Houston. Houston. I work the Houston market. This lead is actually out in Austin. Well, it's not in Austin, but it's kind of like closer to Austin than it is Houston for sure. Um, I don't know how you say it. Bastrop County. Bastrop. I wish there was like a little Google thing where it would pronounce it for me. Yeah, this guy has about 30 properties. A majority of them are in Houston. Bastrop. Bastrop. Yeah, this guy has like 30 properties. A majority of them are in Houston. He has this one in Bastrop County. Kind of Austin. Smithville is the name of the city. It's like probably 30 miles out of Austin. And he wants to sell this one and 1031 exchange, roll the money over from the sale of this property in order to buy another property in Houston. That way he can just consolidate all of his properties in Houston because he has a trusted like rehab guy, a trusted maintenance guy out in Houston who services all of his properties out there, but he doesn't really have that for his property out here near Austin. So he wants to sell here, buy here. That way he can just consolidate all of his rentals in one market and have somebody that he trusts to be able to service um, all of those properties there. So, but to answer your question, Houston, I'm primarily marketing to. The only reason that this property came up is because I texted him about one of his properties in Houston, and he was like, "No, I don't want to sell any of those, but I do have one out here near Austin." So that's how that conversation started. Um, this deal is hot. This deal is super hot. Um, I'm trying to just do my best to adhere to his requests because he's asking a very reasonable price. ARV in the area, well, ARV for this property rather, I think conservatively is like 380, 385. Optimistically, 400 plus. I'm thinking like 385 though is pretty accurate. I'm just the way the market's going and the way these things are getting bid up, I could see it going 400 plus, but just 385. 385 is what I'm looking at conservatively, and he's asking 200. The place is in pretty decent shape. Roof is like 8 years old. AC is 5 years old. No foundation issues. Um, the tenants in there, it's just really dated on the inside. He sent me pictures, so it's just gonna be like I think like an average, maybe like a little bit more than average rehab, if depending on how the exterior looks. I don't think anybody was on here when I was on the phone with him, but he sent me pictures, but nothing of the exterior. So I want to be able to check that out as well. So just assuming that some work needs to be done. Um, assuming some work needs to be done on the exterior as well, I'm gonna think it's gonna be like a slightly higher than average rehab. The property is just over 1,500 square feet, so like I think like 40 at the most is what is going to be spent on rehab on this. So I think this is a smoking deal. I think that if I can get it at 200, um, I could have a buyer profiting like 35, assuming that they're going to put about 40 into it. It could be like an $80,000 deal, man. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. That's how I'm looking at it, at least. Need to connect in Houston JV if I get any deals. That's me, bro. Let me know. Let me know. I mean, yeah, I'm not physically there, but I've definitely built out the team out there. I have somebody out there that can go take pictures if you like, host cash buyer showings, and I have a email list of a little over 1,000 of people who that I've compiled over the time doing this. I have obviously some kind of A list buyers who I have assigned both my deals to. Trying to think of what else. Yeah, I mean, I pride myself in my ability to dispo. The reason that I wasn't able to, only reason that he, sorry, only reason that I didn't close out on the first three contracts that I got was because we locked them up too high, and for just kind of like newbie type stuff. Like the tenant wasn't going to let us in, but we canceled the contract. We should have never canceled that contract. We should have just extended the closing date. Anyways, hindsight's always 2020. But yeah, let me know, man. Let me know. I got a Discord. You can check out the link in the description. That way, if anything does come up, feel free to reach out to me there. Or that's just going to be probably the best place to contact me when I'm off of my live stream. Either that Discord, the link is in the description, or my Instagram. You can DM me on Instagram, and the link to my Instagram should be in the description as well. So that's that. Wish me luck. I'm gonna be on the lookout for his phone call. He said that he was in the middle of something. He's gonna call me in an hour or two. Like I said, I just need to. He's still very skeptical, and that's what is bothersome to me. Um, the fact that like I've had multiple conversations with this guy, and I've confirmed, and I've tried my very best to just go out of my way to adhere to all of his requests about like the inspection period. He's in the beginning he wanted me to waive the inspection period, and I was like, I can't really do that. Like I need at least to be able to get in there and check it out. You know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna buy the property on sight unseen. If if you want me to buy it sight unseen, I'm gonna need a lower price. You know what I mean? How many deals have you closed so far? You've been grinding. I've closed 2 deals before so far. They were pretty back to back in August and September. Um, it grossed 14,000 for me. The first deal was a $12,000 deal that I split with my JV partner, boots on the ground out in Houston. So we both took down 6 on that one. And my second deal was shortly after that. And I just did that one all by myself. And that one was a $8,000 deal. Probably could have gotten more. I just saw my buyer listed on market for something crazy. He's probably going to take down like 30, 40,000 and not, I think he did. I think he just wholetailed it. I don't know if he put any money into it. If he did, it was something light because the property was already in really good condition. I didn't realize how good a condition it was until we got the pictures. Plan on getting cold callers. Yeah, that's probably. I mean, I don't. I've had. I jumped the gun and I got a couple cold callers in the past, and I just hired them myself off of Fiverr. Uh, it ended up being all right. One of my cold callers generated a deal for me. It was a lead, and I followed up, and we got it under contract. That was one of the ones that fell through, but that was a good deal. There was some spread on it. It was just kind of out in the middle of nowhere, so buyers weren't really attracted to it. But I still think I could have gotten somebody to bite. They ended up backing out because they got cold feet. Um, I had recruited a realtor for that one because it was owner occupied and they were going to need a new place to move to. But she was just like really pushy and overly excited. And she said a bunch of shit that ruined the deal. To be quite honest, I blame her for that. She started saying things like, Derek's in California, right? Or, I just want to make sure that he's gonna like make money off this deal, right? Like she was saying shit like that. I was like, what? And then she came back to me telling me that story as if it was like all good. I was like, why would you say that? And then no more than 24, 48 hours go by, I get a call from the seller and he's, hey, we don't want to sell anymore. I was like, may I ask why? And he's like, because I changed my mind, man. I don't want to sell anymore. And he was all pissed off. And I could have easily said, well, we have a legally binding contract, and I could have filed a memorandum. I could have done a bunch of stuff. But I was new to the game. I hadn't closed any deals at that point. And I was just like, you know what? It's not worth my time. I just gotta kick it to the side and then just kind of go chase the next one. That's what I did. And the next one after that was my first deal. So I don't know if I plan on getting cold callers when I uh, close my next one. But I actually might. My first hire may be actually is I've thought about this, maybe a like a more of an administrative type role where I don't have them on the phones. So for me, I think that would be like a texter, right? Just to like make it kind of like super simple, like hop in here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, grab these, hundreds of people and add them to the campaign and just kind of monitor it for responses and have, these generic responses to reply with, like that's type of stuff that's kind of time consuming, but doesn't require a lot of people skills or, you know, doesn't require a native English speaker either. So I've thought about all that stuff. I might hire cold callers though, and maybe I handle the text because I've been having a lot of success through text. This guy was from text. This deal that I'm hoping to lock up was from text. So I don't know. I don't know yet. It's either cold callers, somebody to handle the text campaigns, um, or somebody to drive for dollars for me. So that's how that's pretty much, I try my best to stay busy with my driving for dollars list. It gets to a point where I can't keep up driving for dollars with the amount of marketing that I'm doing. So like I'll be able to get a couple of hundred driving for dollar properties per week. And I do that by virtually driving for dollars on Google Maps. But I can call through a couple hundred properties in like an hour or two. So it's hard to keep up and build that list as quickly as I can market to it. So that's something else that I've considered is maybe just hiring somebody and paying them hourly to just constantly be driving Google Maps, sharing my process with them so that they can duplicate it and just be feeding me lists of driving for dollar properties. That's something else that I've really considered. Whatever cold caller you hire, they're gonna need to know Spanish. Yeah, exactly. For real. You have a big buyers list, and if so, how are you finding them? My buyers list is like 1,000 plus email, Facebook groups, conversations that I've had through cold calling. A lot of times people say, "No, I'm not selling, but I'm buying." Same with through text. Through marketing efforts, I get some buyers, even though I'm not specifically marketing to buyers. Um, Anytime I have gotten a deal, I've been able to add like a good 20, 30 buyers just from my efforts in trying to dispo that deal. I'm just sliding into hundreds of people's DM on Facebook, um, and asking them, are you interested in buying this property? And then we talk about it, and they're like, you know what, I'm not really interested in that one, but here's my email. Send me future opportunity. So every time I get something under contract and I go to dispo it, I'm adding like a good handful of buyers to the list that aren't interested in that specific deal, but still can see that I'm generating opportunity, so they want to be included on the next opportunity that I generate. Um, so yeah, and so how you find, yeah, so Facebook groups. Uh, my first buyer, I literally slid in his DMs on Facebook, and he was like, "Yeah, when can I go see it?" And I said, "This Saturday." He showed up. We negotiated and sold it. 12,000 spread on it. The second one, um, his name's Cody Pirtle. He's a big time wholesaler out in Texas. Him and his partner Jared Graves. I think Jared's more so on the title company side of things now, but I saw them on Steve Trang's podcast like last year, and saw that they were dominating the Houston market. So I reached out to Jared through um, Instagram, just slid in his DMs and was like, "Hey, I got his contract. I saw that you guys are affiliated with a title company, and I'm looking for a title company to open escrow with. Would you uh, mind putting me in contact with the escrow officer?" And he's like, "Yeah, here's her name and here's her contact information. Thanks for reaching out." And then I reached out to Cody, knowing that he also invested himself, because actually on that one deal that I was just talking about, the one where they backed out because the realtor ruined it, I was going to JV that deal with Cody. Cody felt that there was enough spread on it where we could push it out a little bit higher than what the contract was at and be able to get a buyer, but it fell through before we even were able to put in any efforts towards the disposition. So I've been rounding back with him. He's kind of like I won't lie, I'm kind of like his cash buyer employee right now, because I'm bringing him opportunity that I haven't yet put under contract, and he's giving me his opinion on it and like where he would be as a buyer or whatever the case is. So um, he was the one who bought my second deal. I had already had it under contract at that point, but I just texted him because we had already been back and forth a little bit before that, and yeah, talked price, and he put it under contract sight unseen. It was a smoking deal. Clearly, he was willing to do that and put up his earnest money, and it was all good. Yeah. So I think that, just to answer that, how I'm finding them is building relationships, just having conversations with as many people as possible, and it's not like it's a people business. You, you're not going to be able. There's no like saving grace. There's no like magic sauce to finding hundreds of buyers all the time, constantly. You have to be putting in the work. You have to be cold calling buyers lists. You have to be marketing to buyers to be able to find those buyers. So I would just say, yeah, start having conversations with buyers. I haven't pulled a list yet for buyers, but I do plan on doing that for my next couple of deals to see how that works out. Jamil's Keegley would be good to JV with. Also, the 8,000 buyers. Exactly. That's another one. I considered JVing with. Just know, though, this is something I don't want to discourage you from doing that, but this is what I tell myself. Just know that the buyers that they procure for you, in order for it in order for it to make sense for me at least, they will have to. Let's say for my last deal, I got it at 75 and I signed it for 83, meaning that I took down 8,000. So if I wanted to JV that deal, and Keegley's, they're how do I say this? They advertise themselves as being able to sell your deals for much higher than what you would be able to sell them for, because that's what their business model is. They're constantly calling buyers, marketing with buyers. Everything that I was just saying, that's what their business model is, so that people can simply bring them contracts, and then they can already have a buyer that's willing to pay top dollar. Because not only are they fine, do they have a list of buyers who flip in the area, or landlords in the area, but they also have like high W-2 workers. So they have like doctors, lawyers, people who earn high income, that just want to put their money, invest their money so that it's not sitting in the bank account. And those buyers are the people who are willing to pay 90% of ARV, 95% of ARV, as long as they know that they're getting a slight discount. It's cool with them. Rather, a flipper, who wants it 70% ARV or whatever. So I'm fine with Keegley, and that I almost entertained it for my last deal, but then I started to think about the math, and they would have to. So again, my contract was at 75. I signed it for 83, 8,000 spread. That means that in order for it to make sense for me to split the deal with somebody, they would have to find somebody at 92,000, which would be 9,000 more, so that I am going to be making my 8 plus another $500. Like, it would only make sense to split the deal if they were able to double the assignment fee, the spread, because we're going to be splitting it 50-50, if that makes sense. So if I just JV'd with them and they were able to find a buyer at 90, I would actually be making less money. I would be making, that would be a spread between 75 and 90, $15,000 spread. I'd only be making seven and a half, as opposed to eight for myself by selling it at 83, $7,000 less. So just keep that in mind. I think that I turn to that quickly. Just know, in all aspects of this, that you can do a lot of this stuff yourself. I'm always convincing myself otherwise, for some reason, that like I need to. I think it's good to collaborate and to generate as much resources as possible in order to get these deals to the closing table. But just know that you can do a lot of this stuff yourself. Like I've mentioned before, I kind of regret JVing my first deal. I To be quite honest, that he didn't really do much. I facilitated the whole thing, and I could have easily taken down 12,000, and instead I took down 6. I could have even cut him out, to be honest, but I didn't want to do that either. It would have left a bad taste in my mouth. And then same with JVing and Dispo, Keegley, all that stuff. Well, I've tried moving it, and you can't move it on your own, then it would be a good, exactly. That's when I would turn to it. You're right. That's kind of how I see it. That's how I that's how I approached it, because I didn't find Cody as a buyer until like after I did all my marketing efforts. So I was kind of stressing about this one, and then luckily I had people tell me that they were going to need to be at like 50,000, and I had it for 75. I was like, what? It doesn't make sense to me. And then finally he came along and was like, yeah, I want it. 83, cool, like no issues. So then remember that too. It only takes one buyer. So you can build your buyers list, tens of thousands of people, but only one of them is going to buy your deal. So that's why sliding in people's DMs and doing that manual effort and just like creating individual relationships as much as possible. That's what's gonna sell your deals. Because if you make 10K more than if you tried doing it on your own, then who wouldn't do it? Right, right, exactly. And that's why, like you're saying, it's like if it's between you not doing the deal and you JVing it with somebody and making something, I'm gonna do the JV 100% of the time. I'm not gonna sacrifice the deal just because I don't want to split it with somebody. But yeah, yeah. So keep your fingers crossed for me, you guys, on this one. Hoping that he's willing to. I know he will be. He has to be. That nobody's gonna buy it sight unseen. Nobody's gonna waive their inspection. You know, nobody's gonna do that stuff that he wants. So I just gotta kind of professionally and kindly educate him on that. Like, again, I'm not gonna not have an inspection period. I'm not going to put up earnest money and just have it automatically go hard and non-refundable because that's what he wants. Like, I get it, it's a smoking deal, but I'm not going to sacrifice anything. I need an inspection period. I would like to get a lower earnest money amount than what he's asking, um, and that's really it. That's really it. And I'd like for the property to be delivered vacant, but he's all right with issuing the 30-day notice. So it's all good, really. But he's just a little stubborn. Has his guard up. Again, he just got burned by another wholesaler. I would imagine it was another wholesaler. But yeah. So I'm gonna cut it right now. I don't know when he's gonna call me back. I really hope that wish that conversation would have unfolded a little bit more. Um, Trying to see when I called. I guess in the beginning of the stream is right when I called him 45 minutes ago. So I can expect his call and maybe. I mean, he said an hour or two, so I maybe 15 minutes. I don't know, but I'm gonna hop in the shower. Maybe it will come in after I'm out. If not, just gonna be on standby. So appreciate you guys. I'm gonna try if it is shortly and I'm still sitting here in front of my computer. I'm gonna try to pull the YouTube back up and go live for you guys to check it out. But I'm also not gonna stress about it. I'm not gonna try to scramble and go live just so that I can get the conversation documented. Um, I'm gonna I'm gonna prioritize just getting the deal locked up. But if that is the case, I'll be sure to hop back on here and share with you guys how the conversation went. So appreciate you guys. If you haven't already, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out when I do go live. I try to go live Monday through Friday, sometimes Saturday. Sometimes I don't go live Wednesdays. That's kind of my day that I don't go live. So just know if you don't see me on Wednesday, it's kind of typical. But yeah, covering everything wholesaling real estate on the channel, specifically virtually wholesaling real estate, since that's what I'm doing here. And I would love to see you guys offline in the Discord group. The link is in the description. Just kind of be a little central hub for us to connect when I'm not on live stream. So bring any of your questions, comments, concerns to either the comment section of any of my videos or to the Discord group. And again, wish me luck. Keep your fingers crossed. Till the next one. Peace.